this place real? That depends. If real is what you can feel, smell, taste, and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain. Pikachu, I have in my hand 2 pills. You take the blue pill, and the story ends now. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the Diglett hole goes. But be warned, dive too deep, and you may never return.
Unique scenario in sports cards specifically.
There is one idea that's coming to mind though. There are some years where they don't really come out with like that key rookie set. There's certain things like the 2012 Panini Prism for basketball. You have the same thing with like 1986. It's very rare, but you have the 1986 Fleer where you have like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years worth of rookies. And then there's certain people who are technically rookies then, they didn't even show up in the set. Like John Stockton didn't show up in 86 Fleer, and he was like, I believe in the league by then. So it's like he showed up in 88 Fleer. So it's one of those things where and then like there are certain guys in the 2012 Prism basketball that were drafted in 2011. They had other cards that came out, but for the main sets. I guess if it's really bad, they can come out with all the other, fringe sets, and then I don't know, the mid-tier and higher end stuff. I guess they could consolidate it. It'll piss people off because they gotta wait a year. But combining 2 draft classes, especially if they're both good, long term people may like it because it seems like a lot of people still like 2012 Prism, even though most of the players aren't. I mean, there's Damian Lillard, right? I think he's a collectible kind of guy.
My guy.
I don't know about Anthony Davis. We'll see. We'll see this year.
Not anymore.
But and maybe Kawhi. Like there's some people who are like collectible. You get interested in. 86 Fleer, you have that. I'm pretty sure there are other sets that aren't coming to mind. I guess for soccer, like 2014 Prism World Cup or whatever. But that stuff, I'm not going to be soccer right now.
It seems though that a lot of those, like the 86 Fleer, the 2012 Prism basketball, like there's extenuating circumstances that like require them to do that. And that there's kind of no way to avoid it. 86 Fleer, there was just, it was star cards for so long, and there was nobody who was doing anything. There wasn't much demand either. So, and then 2012, I think, there's also extenuating circumstances. So, I do see some logic, but I think before that, I think a better first step would be to like reduce just some of the amount of product in general. I mean, there's a lot of sets out there that really aren't that interesting. I mean, and sometimes they're releasing new stuff. Like Flux came out last year, Recon, so these are really like, they were in Chronicles before. Just put them back into Chronicles. Some of this kind of stuff, like if Chronicles just has a mixed bag of a bunch of stuff, and then you have like a smaller handful of reliable, consistent stuff, and then you can experiment with one new set a year or something like that. But I feel like they expand too much, and in every single product, there's quite a large need for autograph cards. Autographs have been so big, and so it ends up making the supply of autographs in general so massive that I think it makes it, like, from a logistical standpoint, it'd be so hard to follow up on that many autographs from that many players in that many sets. And then you have some on card and some that are stickers. And because, the stickers, of course, are also part of the whole logistical thing. They have to do the stickers because they've put themselves into this position where they just have to do so many autographs. But I kind of feel like it's at the point where there's so many autographs, it's starting to lose its specialness. Like autograph cards are meant to be, like, if you pull an autograph card, it's supposed to really be something special. But if it becomes too common and too long of a checklist of players, it starts to, I don't know, I feel like there starts to be a loss of interest, or a loss of demand even on autographs as a category of card. It's amazing when you can go on to some place, and find some certain autographs of some nobody quality players, and you can buy for like $2 or something like that. Like, there's no reason for that. It's challenging. It's logistically challenging, and it's not really of much benefit to the sports card world in any ways I can really see with that many. You know, if autographs are a little bit more special, I don't know. I feel like it would be better that way and easier to manage.
Yeah, I know we probably talked about this last time, and I know I like talked about this months ago and even probably a year ago about kind of like, you know, the mass produced scarcity thing. And, you know, obviously it was base, and then so they're going to produce, you know, a bunch of base cards, but, you know, like companies know, okay, we can't produce too much base, so we're going to do a bunch of silvers and a bunch of non-colored parallels. So you start with that, and then they realize, okay, you know, since demand is so especially if you're still kind of like printing cards to meet the demand of 2020, 2021, when you're like in this massive mania phase, you know, it's one of those things where, all right, we need to meet demand because everything's selling out. So they're going to print to meet, to hopefully their guess would be right at that point where they're just at that threshold of selling out in a sense, where it still creates that perception that these things are just like the rarest things and I still have to get them. Obviously they always like overshoot and there's a bunch of stuff stuck on the shelves, but I think that's the goal. And then, you know, then they graduate to serial number cards, and then they graduate to you know, trying to put legends in sets that are serial numbered and all this other stuff that aren't really part of the main, you know, main roster of players. And then what they try to do is add in patches of jerseys and autographs, so to stretch things out, because you can do only so many on-card autos. You do the sticker autos, and you can only do so many game-worn jerseys. And there's still a memorabilia market where people just collect jerseys and have them signed in a case or plaque or whatever. So there's only so many they're going to cut up, and there's only so many you know, basketball is 82 games, so I guess you can and maybe
you get quite a few, if you make the effort to.
Yeah, so you just have this where you know, they're going to do player worn jerseys, and now it's not even player worn. I actually predicted this, which is interesting, that they're just going to get a random jersey.
Yeah, just from your local Walmart or from your dirty laundry basket.
and yeah, and it's probably been worn, but not by the player. But and then so it's one of those things where they're going to try to stretch that as much as possible. And I guess they want to kind of make it where it feels like everybody gets a hit. But
there is something to be said about that too, because, you know, if you're opening packs and every single thick card you have is a base card, like, you're not going to want to open another pack also. So there's a balance. There's a real balance there that I don't really know how to walk that balance line right. Like, how do you balance between making sure people feel like when they're opening the product, there's something to chase and there's something special, but not, you know, not flooding the color parallels, flooding the market with these patches that have nothing to do with anything, that are just pieces of garbage essentially. You know, like, how do you balance that? I don't think it's an easy question. You know, I think it's easy to complain about it, and I do a lot, and I don't like the way that they rely on certain crutches. You know, the color parallel is kind of a crutch. There's certain things that annoy me, but at the same time, I don't know what the solution is, because from a business standpoint, it's really tough to find that balance. Maybe there's just a variety of other things, better inserts, more inserts. I love the 90s inserts. Maybe bring back some more kind of like cool looking 90s styles sort of inserts, or, you know, a variety of things, so that there is some big hits, but there's also some like cool lower end chases. I don't know, maybe something like that. I'm not sure.
yeah, so it's one of those things where it's really hard. Most companies, I've seen this with Pokemon too. the companies are trying to make money and they're trying to print to meet demand. And the truth of the matter is, the secondary market isn't where these companies make money.
Yeah,
Where they
very
make
true.
money is the primary market. So, and I think not all the time, but most of the time, because I think there's certain things like sports cars is just strong enough to say long term. Like long term sports cars is strong enough for it's going to exist 20 years from now, 30, 50 years from now. So it's not much they can do to, like, if they're like putting forth effort, it's really hard to just like have no collectors and no long-term investors, because you still have vintage. You still have some great stuff that's coming out. I do like the kabooms. I do think it's gotten kind of a little crazy, because now you have like 101s and now 505s and stuff like that, which if you're a newer person, is going to take you longer to kind of learn. I think you have to figure out how to meet the needs of the older, more experienced people, whether in the hobby or just older people, because they may like to say the 90s inserts, but like newer people may like kaboom and color blast.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably you probably want to make products where you have different kinds of sets of collectors and long-term investors, where some people like rookie cards and make the rookie cards look nice, but also unique enough where people want to collect them. And it's almost like a scavenger hunt in a sense, where and they just have to find that balance of not too much, that Goldilocks area where it's not like insurmountable, but it is a bit of a challenge, and it's not like you're just gonna get them all very easily. And then you have people promote and have people who want rookie cards, people who want I guess that's the big thing. And then if you want to do serial numbered, I guess it's like low serial number, like goals or whatever, of other years that aren't rookie, and just autos, just memorabilia, and try to make it dynamic. I think the issue is just the companies kind of just want to print to meet demand. And when you have an issue like we said before, in a 2019, 2020, 2021, you have this mania phase. That is kind of an anomaly, and it's like not that many people are going to be coming in. That's not a normal thing. So now you're like severely overprinting things, and then you're kind of almost just repeating the 90s, like the early 90s again when it comes to cards. It's just it's not exactly the same, because now you have other ways to kind of manipulate the product.
It's kind of similar though. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's like the same but hidden behind the way that it's now done, behind the color parallels and stuff. It's almost the same thing. Let's respond to a few. We got David